I have no idea if this is going to be helpful. It could be very helpful, it could be useless, but another of my podcast experiments. I'm going to talk to you about, I think it's about 10 or 11 of my clients for a minute or two each. Describe them. Of course, I'll hide their name and some of the irrelevant details, but their situation and my best thought on what's going to help them, what has helped them or whatever, depending on the person. First person, we'll call her Mary. She is bright, has a degree from the University of California. She is an artist type and loves, just say, some aspect of the film industry. Let's just say that. And she has tried hard to get a job, and she got a good job. One of her professors actually got her a job, but she doesn't stick. She has autism, and doesn't do well with people. She doesn't do the networking thing well. And so she's quite bright. She's relegated to very low-level jobs. And then her company laid her off, and she's been looking for a long time, and despite the 3.5% unemployment rate, she's been unable to get a job. Now, people generally who are on the spectrum get their jobs through family, but she has a lot of resentment toward her family, probably ill-founded, but so what I've been working on is trying to get her to make peace with it, because her family is well-connected. I'm trying to get her to make peace with the fact that, like almost all young people today, unless they're superstars, especially if they're on the spectrum, they need to rely on their parents, at least for a launchpad job, a job that will get them started, and then from then they can do it more on their merits. Anyway, that's that person. Another person, also vaguely on the spectrum, more OCD and very anxious, very bright. Degree from a prestigious college. He's got a dead-end job. I won't say what it is to preserve his anonymity, but he could do a lot more, I think. Sometimes I wonder. He's so riddled with anxiety and OCD that despite his high IQ, it may be he can't do more. And he is very fearful of making choices and trying new things. And what seems to be working best for him are two things. One is, instead of thinking the fear is irrational, we are pretending, or at least that the fear is justifiable and fine, and it's the old cliche, feel the fear and do it anyway. And also, he does better when he's held accountable immediately. So during the session, because he's so much a not follow-through person, I have him make calls to, prospective employers, to family members, to whatever he wants, and we get off the phone, he calls, and then he's got to call me back. That kind of accountability has been helped. Another client, also extremely bright, his problem is he has a hard time, he was very distracted, thing to thing, he's always, he doesn't get a lot done. And he has an additional problem of having a hell of a time getting up in the morning. So what seems to be working with him is we have 2 alarm clocks set on opposite side of the room, so he's actually got to get up and can't just hit the snooze button. Coffee is helping a little, not a lot. And then we allocate 1 hour where he's not allowed to be distracted from anything. And that 1 hour, he's got his to-do list. We have him make a to-do list the night before. And then during that 1 hour, all he can do is stay focused on those things, and that's working pretty well for him. Another client is a director of admissions at a college, and he's burned out. He's tired. He's only 50-something, but he is very tired. He's an old 50-something. He thought for a long time he wanted to get out, different job, whatever, but I think he realizes that he should be grateful for what he has. And so we're only talking about it, not something even changing it. He likes his boss, likes his job on any objective measure is good. So we're working on his out-of-work life. And again, I want to make sure I preserve his anonymity. But his travel interests, his desire to learn certain things, his romantic interests, we're working on all those. And he's feeling like that's probably the best set of compromises. Another client, it's over-dramatic, They actually made him inpatient. They thought he was suicidal, and afterwards, and I had a feeling it was wrong, and afterwards he says it was a mistake. It was his sibling who pushed him to do it, and he's really just situationally sad in that he's another bright guy, behind his peers. His peers are all, MBAs now and doctors, lawyers, or whatever, and he is not. Because he's bright but not a genius and a little depressive, it's not like he's going to be a standout guy, and there's also no one great thing he's going to stand out as. So we've kind of explored 2 or 3 different things, and I think for him the answer is going to be to accept that he's probably going to be a mid-level person. He needs to probably get a master's degree in this one of 2 or 3 fields that he has some interest in. He's not passionate about anything, but to treat that as a launch pad and then, like a suit of clothes, tailor it and accessorize it, and get a good internship and do what he can. He's not a driven guy, very nice guy. Probably do well to get a job in government as some kind of an analyst role. And we're still working in progress. Then I have this client who is ultra wealthy. She is an employee of a major corporation and lives in a palace, and her husband does very well. She's got a lovely daughter, but she's a complainer. She's very. She should be more grateful. She buys $5,000 purses. She lives in a mansion. She's healthy, beautiful. Her daughter's beautiful. Her husband is very nice. And yet she's always complaining. And one of her complaints is she wants more control over other people. She's very family-oriented. And so she expects family to drop everything for her, and she's willing to, of course, say, I'm willing to drop everything for family. But she's assuming that other people view her, have her values, and she's got to let go of what she can't control. And so we deal with that on a case-by-case basis. Another person now is another bright guy, very nice guy, very entrepreneurial, and he has a wonderful idea, let's just say in the mental health space. And he's tried his ass off, but his weaknesses are 2. He tends to want to be partnered with people, and he's not the greatest choice of people to have as business partners, and so they tend to not follow through. And as far as he's concerned, this guy is too detail-oriented. He just does too many deep dives. He doesn't know when enough is enough. So we work on when enough is enough, and doing more without a partner, or more carefully curating his partners. Then I have a client who is not a very bright guy, tends to sadness, depression. I think he was actually diagnosed with schizophrenia, although it's very low grade. Certainly in our many sessions he's shown no dissociation at all. But he's got some learning disabilities. He works for the government in a state. He's a good writer, a reasonable thinker, bad in math, and he's stuck in a very dead-end job, the ultimate government bureaucrat. And he's tried like hell to get out because he's not that prepossessing. He's not that bright. He's not that good-looking. He's a little lackluster. He hasn't been able to get out, and his boss needs him in his crappy job, and so his boss is not particularly eager to help him get another job. But he's decided that he's going to, even though he's not good at school, he's gotten into basically an open admissions master's program, and we're going to talk about how to make the most of that program so that he could leverage, make connections, get good internships, get good references, and hopefully get a better job as a result of that. Then I have a client who is a PhD, let's just say a psychologist who works at a very prestigious university, but he's really an entrepreneur at his core. He is not meant to be in the academic, plodding environment, nor with special needs people, which is what he's hired to do. And so we're talking about how he can indulge the entrepreneurial spirit. He's also a very religious guy, and how he can incorporate that, and also where he wants to live. He's got real issues about where he wants to live, he doesn't want to be near his college because the neighborhood is very bad, but the commute is horrendous. So we are talking about how to negotiate for remote work, what to do as a transition plan from his current job, because it's a very prestigious university. It's very hard to quit a job from a very prestigious university, but he knows in his heart of hearts he needs to be more entrepreneurial and self-employed. So we're trying to figure out how to do that with minimal risk. And the final person I want to tell you about is a guy who worked for a very prestigious high-tech company here in the Bay Area, but it was too fast-paced for him. He's a bright guy, perfectly nice guy, great guy, in fact. And he made a decision with some of my coaching to move back to the Midwest, which is where he's from. He's very Midwestern in style, and a bright, nice guy. The bad news is he got a good job a supposedly good job in the Midwest, but he's not liking it. The pressure even there is too much, and it feels soulless and whatever. So we're making decisions about how long to stay, what other kind of job that would. He has certain technical skills that he'd like to use and certain other technical skills he'd like not to. And we're trying to identify companies and jobs, as well as he tends to get sad and depressed and timing everything regarding dating, his family, his hobbies and such, and trying to create a patchwork life. I have no idea if any of this is helpful to you. But that's kind of my, I just picked, literally, these are my last dozen clients who I've worked with at least for more than once, so that I have something to say about them. I hope you found it of some value. If not, I apologize. As usual, I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments, and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to this podcast or my videos. And check out any of my books on Amazon. Books like How to Do Life, Careers for Dummies, Baby Steps. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I'm Marty Nemko.